here, which looks like a bottle of liquid that you have in your breast pocket.
Nail polish remover.
There you go.
Security officials tell ABC News this type of machine would almost certainly have spotted last week's underwear bomb.
Well, this is important technology to meet the threats that we're facing now.
The only downside is they show you completely naked. It's basically an anatomically correct vision of the human body,
including breast implants, body piercings, and other intimate features people might not like to advertise. Last summer, Congress blocked plans to make these machines mandatory in some U.S. airports because of the privacy concerns. But some now say we can't afford to be squeamish anymore.
You're going to learn to live with that, just as we've learned to live with all kinds of other things that people thought were privacy invasions when they first occurred.
Security threats have grown more and more sophisticated in 2009, with cyber criminals continuing to improve their techniques. With 2010 fast approaching, it's time to take a look at the year that was and what we can expect from here. For more, Helen Frost spoke earlier to Craig Scroggie from Symantec.
2009 has been a challenging year. Certainly spam in Australia reached more than 93% of all email. Now, that focus is really because of fraud and identity theft. So the organised crime groups, the spammers, are really interested in getting you following a link in an email attachment and then giving your personal information, whether it be credit card details or information about you that can be bought and sold in a mature underground economy. For the enterprise side of business, the big challenge in the previous year was the Configure virus. And Configure was designed to exploit vulnerabilities in the Windows operating system. Now, that served as a timely reminder for organisations that they need to ensure that they patch their operating systems and that they have their applications up to date, because most of the vulnerabilities that were exploited, there were known security patches available for.
Okay, so are there any other major security trends that Symantec highlighted through 2009?
Yeah, the one that was evident in 2009 and will continue on into 2010 was the growth in the attacks on social networking mediums. So social networking tends to be a trusted place, whether it's Facebook or MySpace or Twitter. It's an area where you're connected to people that you know well, you trust them and you share personal and confidential information. But those trusted mediums were also targeted as a way to infiltrate your network. We saw some interesting examples where people would infiltrate an account and then ask you to send money to them, saying you were caught overseas, you needed them to wire you some money, and they'd put money in your account. But it wasn't actually a friend of yours, it was someone who'd hijacked their account.
Oh, well. So what about 2010? What are you expecting that's a bit different?
Yeah, obviously, the real change is going to be the continued growth in the use and adoption of social networks. We've seen social networks not only in the consumer side but become adopted in organisations and enterprises as a way to improve productivity. Most businesses tend to be concerned that using a MySpace or a Facebook in a work environment would be a drain on productivity. But there's been a number of studies done recently that show the adoption of social networking in the workplace can become a business enabler and can improve productivity by as much as 10%.
Okay, so taking a step outside security for a moment, what else are you expecting for 2010 for businesses within IT?
Big focus is going to continue to build on that cost awareness that we saw over the previous 12 months. Organisations are really looking at a way to manage the extraordinary growth in information. We've seen more than 30 and in some cases 50% growth in the amount of information organisations have to manage, but they don't have the same budgets available to manage that growth. So they're really looking at ways to get better utilisation out of the assets that they currently already have deployed in their organisation. If you've got servers that are only 25% utilised, you can get better utilisation or better mileage out of the assets that you already own. And there's a number of flow-on benefits for those, particularly the green or the sustainability benefits. If you don't need to buy more infrastructure, it means that you can hopefully reduce the power costs and cooling and other associated costs that flow on from those.
Okay, so we have seen with Copenhagen and everything else that's come up over the last month or so, do you think green will continue to be one of the biggest pushes? And Or do you think it's going to take sort of a bit of a back seat because we have seen so much news around it?
Now, green is going to continue to be a major focus area for organisations. It has been over the course of the past 12 months, but it's been a very heavy cost focus, and that is organisations who found a way to be able to delay the need to buy infrastructure because they could get better utilisation out of their existing assets. It meant that there was cost savings from the delayed purchase of more hardware or assets. And over the course of the next 12 months, not only will they be able to reap those cost benefits of better utilisation of their infrastructure, they're also going to be able to meet some of those reporting requirements that will be placed on them, particularly in relation to carbon management and emission targets.
Okay, so just finally before we go, what type of changes are you expecting around compliance for businesses next year in regards to security?
Look, the compliance landscape is going to be a challenge on two fronts. One, from a regulatory standpoint in financial markets, and that is that there will unquestionably be more compliance required in financial management. The second is the Australian Government recently has considered the Australian Law Reform Commission's proposed changes to the Privacy Act and the introduction of data breach disclosure notification laws. And today, for most organisations, protecting confidential information is a challenge. Lost laptops, mobile phones, those devices that have a lot of confidential information, they're being lost and stolen and traded in a mature underground economy. And those data breach disclosure notification laws are going to be important for business to comply to.
Well, Christmas is over for another year and Australians spent more than $8.5 billion on presents. More than $1 billion of that was spent on unwanted or inappropriate presents, equal to about 20 million gifts, according to research commissioned by